the most feared military machine in human history, had conquered everything from the Pacific, the gates of Europe, yet it broke completely when it collided with a small, agrarian kingdom led by a prince who refused to become king. In the late 13th century, the Mongol war machine had already crushed the ancient dynasties of China, swept across the vast steppes of Central Asia, and terrorized the kingdoms of Eastern Europe. Their reputation preceded them like a plague. They were deemed unstoppable, an existential force of nature that leveled cities and erased entire civilizations from the map. When the Mongol Empire conquered the Song dynasty of China, they gained control over a population of over 50 million people and limitless resources. Their armies had sacked Baghdad, destroyed the Kievan Rus, and defeated the finest knights of Europe at the battles of Legnica and Mohi. No fortress seemed too strong, no empire too vast, and no army too determined to withstand their lightning-fast cavalry and devastating siege engines. Yet, when this colossal empire demanded total submission from the small Southeast Asian nation of Viet, they met an obstacle they could not break. At the center of this legendary resistance was a prince named Tran Hung Dao, later revered by his people and history as Tran Hung Dao. Why do modern military historians and global strategists routinely place this medieval Vietnamese commander on the same legendary pedestal as Alexander the Great and Napoleon Bonaparte? Alexander conquered the known world before his 33rd year, and Napoleon rewrote the entire playbook of European warfare with his brilliant maneuvers. But Tran Hung Dao achieved something arguably more difficult and far more enduring. He did not lead an aggressive empire with limitless resources. Instead, he commanded a small, agrarian nation defending its very existence. He faced the unstoppable armies of Kublai Khan not once, but 3 separate times, and each time he emerged victorious. This is not just a story of military tactics, but a masterclass in asymmetrical warfare, psychological resilience, and national unity. How did a commander with a fraction of the enemy's numbers dismantle the most feared cavalry in human history? The answer lies in a strategy so revolutionary that it predated modern guerrilla warfare by centuries. To understand his genius, we must look beyond the simple maps of battlefields and examine the profound philosophy of a man who believed that the ultimate weapon was not a sword or a horse, but the united will of the common people. While Alexander and Napoleon fought for personal glory and imperial expansion, Tran Hung Dao fought for the survival of his homeland, leaving behind a legacy that reshaped the geopolitics of Asia forever. To appreciate the magnitude of Tran Hung Dao's achievements, we must first understand the terrifying reality of the 13th century world. The Mongol Empire, founded by Genghis Khan and expanded by his successors, had perfected the art of high-speed, highly coordinated cavalry warfare. Their horse archers could cover immense distances in a single day, communicating via a sophisticated system of signal flags and messengers, and executing complex battlefield maneuvers with absolute precision. By the time Kublai Khan established the Yuan dynasty in China, his eyes turned southward toward the rich trade routes of Southeast Asia. Viet, located in what is now northern Vietnam, was a crucial stepping stone. The Mongol demands were clear: allow their armies free passage to attack the neighboring kingdom of Champa, or face total annihilation. Accepting these demands would mean the end of Viet's sovereignty. Refusing them meant war with the global superpower of the age. The disparity in military strength was staggering. The Mongol forces numbered in the hundreds of thousands, veterans of campaigns across Asia, equipped with advanced siege weapons, gunpowder, and unmatched equestrian skills. Viet, by contrast, was a nation of farmers, with a standing army that was dwarfed by the invading hordes. Additionally, the tropical climate, while a potential defense, posed immense logistical challenges. for both sides. It was in this atmosphere of existential dread that Tran Tuong was appointed the supreme commander of the Viet military forces. But his rise to power was not without deep personal and political complications. He belonged to the royal Tran family, which was fractured by an intense internal feud. His father, Prince Tran Lu, had been stripped of his wife by the ruling Emperor Tran Tuong, creating a deep-seated bitterness. On his deathbed, Tran Lu had made his son promise to usurp the throne to avenge the family's honor. Tran Hung Dao faced a profound moral dilemma: honor his father's dying, wish and plunge his country into a bloody civil war, or put aside his personal grievances to unite the nation against the external Mongol threat. Showing the moral clarity that would define his legacy, he chose unity. He publicly reconciled with his cousins, demonstrating that the survival of the nation transcended any personal or familial feud. He even tested his own son's loyalty to the crown, banishing one who suggested seizing the throne. This act of supreme selflessness solidified his authority and set the standard for the entire kingdom. He realized that a divided nation would fall instantly to the past Mongols, and that survival required a level of social cohesion never before seen in medieval warfare. The first Mongol invasion of 1258 had already shown the fierce resistance of Viet, but the second invasion in 1285 was an onslaught of unprecedented scale. Kublai Khan sent a massive force led by his son, Prince Tuong, to crush the stubborn kingdom once and for all. As the Mongol armies poured across the northern borders, the initial encounters were disastrous for Viet. The sheer weight of the Mongol cavalry pushed the Vietnamese forces back, and the capital of Thang Long, modern-day Hanoi, fell to the invaders, facing a demoralized officer corps and a terrified population. Tran Hung Dao knew he had to wage war of exhaustion rather than a war of direct confrontation. He initiated a strategy known as Vun Kong Nia Trong, which translates to empty garden, empty house, a scorched earth policy executed on a national scale. As the Vietnamese forces retreated, they evacuated entire towns and villages, carrying away all food, livestock, and resources. When the Mongols entered Thang Long, they found a ghost city with no food to sustain their massive army and no citizens to terrorize into submission. But scorched earth tactics alone were not enough. The morale of the army was collapsing. To counter this, Tran Hung Dao penned the Hich Tuong Si, or the Proclamation to the Officers. This literary masterpiece was not just a call to arms, but a psychological tour de force. He appealed to his officers' sense of honor, shame, and duty vividly, describing the humiliation of living under foreign occupation while reminding them of their ancestors' heroic victories. He wrote of his own sleepless nights, his heart bleeding, and his willingness to sacrifice his own body to repel the invaders. The proclamation electrified the military, inspiring soldiers to tattoo the words "Sat Dat," meaning "kill the Mongols," onto their forearms. To further solidify national resolve, the Tran court convened Dien Hong Conference. This was an unprecedented assembly where the emperor gathered the elders from all corners of the kingdom, representing the common people, to decide the nation's fate. When asked whether they should surrender or fight, the elders shouted in unison, "Fight!" This early form of democratic consensus building meant that the war was no longer just the king's war, it was the people's war. Armed with this absolute mandate, Tran Hung Dao utilized the terrain of Viet to his advantage. He dragged the Mongol forces into the tame, dense, humid jungles and swampy river valleys, where their elite cavalry was rendered useless, denied decisive battles, plagued by tropical diseases, and harassed by constant guerrilla ambushes. The Mongol army began to fracture from within, forcing them into a disastrous retreat. By 1287, Kublai Khan was furious. The defeat of his second invasion was a humiliating blow to the prestige of the Yuan dynasty. He launched a third, massive invasion, determined to permanently annex Viet. This time, the Mongols brought a massive naval fleet commanded by Admiral Omar Khan to secure their supply lines and prevent the scorched-earth tactics that had defeated them previously. Tran Hung Dao recognized that the key to defeating this third invasion lay in disrupting these supply lines. After the Vietnamese forces successfully intercepted and destroyed the Mongol food supply fleet at the Battle of Van Dien, the main Mongol land and naval forces in Thang Long found themselves facing starvation once again. Prince Togon realized that retreat was their only option, and Omar Khan was ordered to withdraw his fleet back to China via the Bach Dang River. This was the moment Tran Hung Dao had been waiting for. He decided to execute a tactical masterpiece that would mirror the legendary victory of No Quyen in the 10th century, but on a far grander scale. The Bach Dang River was a treacherous waterway governed by dramatic, powerful tides. Tran Hung Dao ordered his soldiers and local volunteers to cut down thousands of heavy wooden poles, tip them with sharp iron caps, and plant them deep into the riverbed at strategic points. These stakes were completely submerged and invisible during high tide, but would expose their deadly, sharp tips as the water receded. On a cool morning in April 1288, the Mongol fleet entered the brow Bach Dang River. Unaware of the trap, Tran Hung Dao sent a small, agile flotilla of light boats to engage the Mongol vanguard. The Vietnamese boats fought briefly and then feigned a panicked retreat, drawing the massive, heavy Mongol warships deeper into the river channel. Omar Khan, sensing an easy victory, pursued them hotly. As the hours passed, the tide began to turn, rushing out toward the sea with immense speed. Suddenly, the water level dropped rapidly, and the heavy Mongol warships were violently impaled upon the sounds hidden, iron-tipped wooden stakes. The ships were trapped, unable to move forward or backward, their hulls pierced by the very riverbed. At that precise moment, Tran Hung Dao unleashed his main force. Fire ships were drifted down the river, turning the trapped Mongol fleet into a raging inferno. From the riverbanks, Vietnamese archers rained down fire arrows, while infantrymen boarded the disabled ships. The battle was a total catastrophe for the Mongols. Thousands of soldiers perished, and Admiral Omar Khan was captured. The entire naval force of the invaders was completely annihilated in a single day. This stunning victory broke the military will of the Yuan dynasty and forced them to abandon their ambitions of conquering Southeast Asia. The victory at Bach Dang was absolute, but Tran Hung Dao was as much a master of diplomacy as he was of warfare. He understood that while they had won the battle, Viet could not survive an eternal war of attrition against a neighbor as massive as China. He knew that Kublai Khan's pride had been deeply wounded, and a wounded giant is at its most dangerous. Rather than gloating over his triumph, Tran Hung Dao advised the Tran Emperor to adopt a policy of pragmatic statesmanship. Viet returned the captured Mongol officers, including high-ranking generals, and sent a diplomatic mission to the Yuan court, offering nominal tribute and formal apologies for the conflict. This allowed Kublai Khan to save face and declare a nominal victory to his court, effectively neutralizing the threat of a fourth invasion. This combination of military devastation and diplomatic humility secured a lasting peace that allowed Viet to rebuild and flourish. With the nation finally secure, Tran Hung Dao chose to step away from the center of power. He retired to his quiet estate in Van Keep, spending his remaining years writing military treatises and advising the court from a distance. He did not seek to leverage his immense popularity to seize the throne. remaining a loyal servant of the Tran dynasty until his death in the year 1300. As he lay dying, Emperor Tran Hung Dao visited him to ask for his final counsel on how to defend the country if the northern invaders should ever return. The dying general's response was a profound summation of his entire life's philosophy. He did not talk about building bigger walls, purchasing better weapons, or raising larger standing armies. Instead, he told the Emperor, if the enemy attacks with fire and wind, that is easy to handle. But if they advance slowly like silkworms eating mulberry leaves, without seeking quick victory, then we must choose the best generals and use the right tactics. Above all, the army must be united like father and son, and the king must treat the people with humanity. To spare the people's strength is the deepest root of victory. These words became the guiding principle of Vietnamese national defense for generations to come, emphasizing that the ultimate strength of a nation lies in the welfare and unity of its citizens. Following his advice, subsequent Tran rulers prioritized agricultural development, maintained a strong but humble national defense, and ensured that the bonds between the crown and the common people remained unbroken. When we compare Tran Hung Dao to Alexander the Great and Napoleon Bonaparte, we see striking similarities in tactical genius, but profound differences in strategic legacy. Alexander was a master of battlefield adaptation, utilizing the companion, cavalry, and the phalanx to shatter the Persian Empire. Napoleon was a mathematical genius who mastered speed, concentration of force, and the exploitation of interior lines to dominate continental Europe. Tran Hung Dao shared their uncanny ability to read the battlefield, exploit the enemy's weaknesses, and turn the physical environment into a deadly weapon. But his true genius lies in the sustainability and purpose of his victories. Alexander's empire was built on rapid conquest. It was a brilliant, but fragile, construct that fractured into warring factions almost immediately after his death at the age of 32, leaving behind a legacy of instability and bloody power struggles. Napoleon's grand campaigns, while tactically brilliant, ultimately led to the exhaustion of France's resources, the occupation of Paris, and his own lonely exile on a remote island. Their empires were temporary monuments to personal ambition. Tran Hung Dao's legacy, however, was defensive, enduring, and deeply rooted in the collective consciousness of his nation. He did not seek to conquer foreign lands or build a global empire. His sole objective was the preservation of his homeland's sovereignty. By achieving this, he ensured the survival of Vietnamese culture, language, and independence. During a period when many other kingdoms were permanently absorbed by the kingdom's adorators, Mongol tide. Furthermore, his military philosophy codified in his writings, such as the Bin Thu Yu Luok, or Essential Summary of Military Art, laid the groundwork for what would later be known as People's War. He championed the policy of Engu Bin Yu Nong, which integrated the military with agriculture, ensuring that soldiers remained productive citizens in times of peace. This doctrine posits that a small nation can defeat a vastly superior invader by mobilizing every segment of society, utilizing guerrilla tactics, and maintaining absolute moral superiority. Centuries later, these very principles would be studied and applied by Vietnamese commanders during the modern conflicts of the 20th century. While Alexander and Napoleon are remembered as great conquerors, Tran Hung Dao is revered as a savior of his nation, demonstrating that true military genius is not measured by the territory you conquer, but by the sovereignty you successfully defend against impossible odds. The story of Tran Hung Dao challenges our very definition of military greatness. For centuries, Western history has celebrated the conquerors who marched across continents, leaving empires in their wake. But perhaps the truest test of a military genius is not how many nations they can conquer, but how effectively they can protect their own people from being conquered by the greatest empires of their time. Tran Hung Dao did not just defeat the Mongols, he preserved the soul of a nation. Today, he is not just a figure in a history textbook. He is revered as a deity in temples across Vietnam, a guardian spirit of the nation he saved. Known as Duc Tan Tran, or Saint Tran, he is worshipped in a unique synthesis of history and spiritual belief, where he is invoked for protection, health, and national strength. His statues stand proudly overlooking rivers, city squares, and annual festivals celebrate his victories, keeping his memory alive in the hearts of millions. His life teaches us that true power does not come from the size of an empire, but from the depth of a leader's connection to their people. If you found this exploration of military strategy and national survival fascinating, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We are dedicated to bringing the rich, epic, and often untold stories of Vietnamese history to a global audience. What do you think of the comparison between Tran Hung Dao, Alexander, and Napoleon? Does defending a nation successfully against impossible odds require more genius than conquering one? How do you think history would have changed if the Mongols had successfully conquered Southeast Asia? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video with fellow history enthusiasts, and stay tuned for our next episode as we continue to uncover the incredible stories that shaped our world.